Hey guys and girls, it's Fox Green back here again today, and today I'm going to be doing a review video, this time on RunCam Scope Camera 2. This is their new flagship camera and it's promising a lot of good things, so we're going to get into this review and see exactly what this little camera can do. So as always in my review videos, we like to do a few different things. First of all, we'll look at what's in the box, we're going to look at the specifications of this camera, we're going to look at the build quality, we'll show you a bit of sample footage from it, and then I'll basically talk through things I'd like to improve and my overall conclusion. So stay tuned and you'll see all those bits coming up right now. So the first thing, what's in the box? First of all, I'd like to point out that they've done really nice packaging. They've gone all black now with some silver writing on it. That's a first for RunCam. They're normally used to their all white boxes with their RunCam in blue and orange on the front. So the box looks really nice. And as everything, it's pretty sweet, opens pretty nice, and you get some nice stuff in there. The first thing you can see, naturally enough, is obviously your instructions, which are quite important. Go through all the features of the camera. Then, naturally enough, there's the camera itself. And you can get it in 3 different versions. This comes in a 40mm, a 25mm, which I have here, and a 3.5mm. So you might be asking, what's the differences between all of these? Well, 40mm is very zoomed in, and it's ideal for 2 joules and upward sniping. 25mm is less zoomed in and it's good for AEG gameplay and 1 joule sniping like what I do on my channel. And then the 3.5mm is something that hasn't been done in Scope Cam territory ever before, and that's for super up close, like kind of like GoPro close, but it's actually, the purpose for that version that they brought out is for mounting it under your gun. So if you've got an MK23 and you want to capture those slightly mid to short range shots, it'll do that really nicely. So that's a nice new thing that RunCam have brought out for the Scope Cam 2, a 3.5mm lens. That's pretty cool. Also what you get in the box is your charging cable, which is a USB to Type-C. Finally RunCam, you've done it, Type-C. I'm delighted. So the reason why I say that is they've been doing cameras for years, they've got lots of different types, but they were always the USB mini, and they always wobble out and cause issues with the charging over time. Because this battery is integrated and inside in this, which we'll get to a bit later, we couldn't have a dodgy charging port. So they've now gone with Type-C, which is really strong, really robust, and a really good option. So with what's in the box covered, let's now look at the specifications of this camera really quickly and run through what's so special about it. First of all, with this you're going to get 1080 at 60 frames per second. That's the highest resolution and the highest frame rate you'll get from this camera. You can get lower resolutions and higher frame rates, but that's the max that you're going to get on this camera, which is really good. It's really clear and really crisp. Second of all, it can take 128 gig SD card, which is really good, as previously the other 1080 cameras by Scope Cam only could handle 64 gig cards. So you're going to get a lot more recording time on your SD card. Now it's advisable to use a class 10 SD card in this camera because it is HD. Another first for the Airsoft Scope Cam industry is it's IP64 rated. So that means this can handle rain and downpours, but it's still not quite submergible, but it'll really do good in all weathers. It's worth pointing out that the Type-C charging port at the back is exposed to elements, but just like waterproof phones, that's fine. But the micro SD card slot on the back has a rubberized piece that you need to have secured over to achieve that IP64 rating. So just be sure you actually have done that. Another first is that when this is running out, and more specifically when it's at 8% battery, it's going to start vibrating rather than beeping and flashing lights. So it'll start vibrating, and the vibration is enough that if you have this on a RIF or a sniper rifle, you will feel it, but it doesn't make any noise that anyone around you can hear you. So it's not going to give you away, which I really think is a sweet feature. The camera itself is able to operate in temperatures of -10 degrees Celsius up to 45 degrees Celsius. So that's pretty good operation range and should cover most of us out there when we're playing Airsoft. On the 1080 60 FPS setting, this boasts an internal battery life of 4 hours continuously running, which I think is a great option. It means you don't, no more stupid mounting power banks to the side of your gun, etc. You just bring this bad boy out for the day gaming and you turn it on when you want it and turn it off when you don't. I probably would plug it in between games and at lunch just to keep it topped up. But yeah, really good innovation there, and it'd be nice to see that coming out in other scope cameras also. That 4-hour battery takes 2 hours to charge, so that's not a bad charge time. So it's pretty quick to charge, but then you get 4 hours out of it, which I think is pretty decent. Unlike some of the previous scope cameras that RunCam's come out, it doesn't have a HDMI out cable anymore, but that's not really a big issue for me. I never really would have used it. So yeah, you can take or leave that. Because there's a 4-hour battery in here, it's got a 1400 milliamp hour battery in there, so that is obviously significantly bigger than the previous batteries that RunCam used to. The previous batteries in RunCam, as you know, that were removable, would only last typically about an hour, maybe an hour and 10 minutes in good weather. So yeah, 4 hours is a much bigger improvement. This camera can also take up to 14 megapixel photos, still photos, if you actually want to on there, but don't see why you would. But this is something that all scope cameras have done in the past, so that option is there if you want to, and you can do continuous photo shooting every few seconds also, if that's something you're into. Next thing we're going to look at really quick in this is functionality, right? This is where I think is really good about this camera, functionality. They've made this camera a scope camera that anyone can use. Previously, scope cameras had a bit of tampering. You had to do little bits and pieces to them to get them working, and sometimes people would bring them out and end up not capturing any footage because of simple user issues with not pressing the second button, etc. So previously on these cameras, you used to have two buttons. You use a button to power it up and a button to record, but not anymore. Now with this camera, all you have to do to record is flick this button forward and it will actually vibrate. You'll feel it turn on, so you won't hear it beep like before, and you'll obviously see that it goes straight into recording with a flashing LED on the top and a flashing LED on the back. Now it's important to note you can turn those lights off also in the app if you want to, but it's so simple to use. That's all you need to do. And to turn it off again, you just pull it down, and again you'll feel a vibration to say it's shutting down. This is your Wi-Fi button, the second button, so if you want to pair it up to the app to adjust and center it, etc., you can easily do that. You press and hold to turn it on, and it'll start flashing. So yeah, just bear in mind when you are pairing it to the app that you have to make sure your data is off. Just have your Wi-Fi on and it'll pair to the app, no problem. The functionality is just so user friendly. Obviously, you take your SD cards out, you pull the flap up and you just press in to remove your SD cards. So very simple. But another feature on the functionality that I think is really good, it's a small touch but I really like it, is the fact that now this comes with a little swivel, as you can see here, that can raise up, and you can actually tighten it, hand tighten it, without needing a screwdriver or any fancy tool or an Allen key onto your rails. So you can actually, without tools, remove this camera in-game or put it back on. And that's especially useful if you're using it for the pistol option with the 3.5mm lens option of this camera. So that's a very nice little touch. With the functionality over it, let's just talk about the build quality real quick, because I have to say, hats off. This is a very robust camera. First of all, you're featuring some Gorilla Glass up front. You're featuring then all around a full aluminium body and aluminium Picatinny rail mount here. No plastic in that. This thing is really well built, really strong. And I will say, compared to other run cameras, the profile is much narrower. It's not as wide, but it does make up for that in height. So it's a slight bit higher, but it's much narrower. So I think it's a sleeker, it's a boxier look, but it's a sleeker look. I really do like it, and yeah, it just doesn't look as ugly on your gun as possibly some of the last scope cams that have come out from RunCam. We're now going to go on and show you this camera in action, just on the field, testing at its full setting, which is 1080 60 FPS, just so I can show you in different scenarios what it looks like and what the quality in general is just like on this camera. Far distance is good, and what about right up close? That's very close now, that's like 15 meters max. Very sharp up close. That is about the standard range you'd be shooting someone that brick wall.
that's extremely well focused, and then obviously that's far away. Yeah, I really do like this RunCam too.
After every operation, the camera produces text files which shows the on and off times and the battery intervals. The camera breaks long videos up into 15-minute segments, but no footage is missing between these segments.
So if I had to scrutinize this camera, what would I change? Well, there's one thing that all of us Airsoft YouTubers or Airsoft content creators do when we get a camera like this, and that is we put a sunshade over the lens, especially when it's got Gorilla Glass on the front. And the reason being is that sunshade keeps the sun off the sensor and keeps the sun from reflecting off this lens on the front. So it makes your image a lot sharper and a lot clearer and a lot better. So if you want the best quality out of this, putting some sort of shade over the top of this is going to make it better. I just wish that RunCam did this from now on. Basically keep their Gorilla Glass, but extend this barrel out a little bit past it, just about 2 centimeters, essentially just to give you that blockage from the sun. I think that would be great if they started doing that. And it's a small thing, it's a simple thing to do. So RunCam, I hope you're listening. All of us YouTubers want sunshades built into this. I'm actually going to have to dicky something up and put something on this now to use as sunshade. Here is an example of one of my RunCam 4Ks, and as you can see here, I've made my own makeshift sunshade, which is like masking taped on, but the lens is way back in there, and that makes my image way better. So if they started doing that out of the box, just save us having to do a little bit of work to the cameras. But you know what? All scope camera manufacturers are doing the same as this. So yeah, it's not a big gripe, but it's something that would be very nice. The other thing I'd like to see from this is a 4K version, and I'm pretty sure a 4K version of this is going to come. Whether it'll boast 4-hour battery life, I'm not too sure. But as you know, I film everything in 4K. So I really want to get this in 4K. I honestly think if I get one of these comes out in 4K, that's going to be hands down the camera I'll always use. I don't think I'll be going back to anything else, because I really am impressed with this camera. The build quality, the features of it, they just make sense. They're really well thought out. There's a lot of effort put into this compared to some of the older cameras, and they have been listening, especially with the Type-C, the water rating, and all those things, and the protective lenses and the easier mounts. They've definitely been listening. But for me, overall, I'd like to conclude by saying this is the first camera that's very user friendly, and by that I mean it's ready to go out of the box. It's very simple to use. You're not going to miss recording stuff with this. It's quite easy to actually capture footage and not make a mistake. So all in all, I think this is a good buy. It's something that's well worth checking out and getting. If you're new to Airsoft YouTubing or just capturing footage in general, Airsofting, this is the camera for you, I think. Yeah, it's really good. And I've got a 10% discount code in my link in the video description below. So if you want to pick up one of these, now is definitely the time to do it. Check out that link in my video description below. So guys and girls, I hope you really liked that quick review video on this RunCam Scope Cam 2. If you did, please like, subscribe, hit that notifications button and leave a comment below. And don't forget to check out my merch, such as my t-shirts and much more. All that's down in my video description below. So please check it out. I'm Fox Green. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.